Buster Moon is ready to bust out of the small time in Sing 2, and he's taking his show on the road. Let's see what secrets and Easter eggs we find along the way. Moon, voiced by Matthew McConaughey, has brought the Moon Theater back to its former glory, and more, thanks to the help of Nana, played by Jennifer Saunders. But even with the seats packed every night, Moon is shooting for the stars. Check out the opening act performed to the tune of Let's Go Crazy by Prince and the Revolution. Crazy is a great word to describe it, but perhaps mad would be more fitting, as the sequence takes place in the world of Alice in Wonderland, featuring Mina as Alice, Rosita as the Cheshire Cat, and Johnny as the Mad Hatter. Returning as the voices for each are Tori Kelly, Reese Witherspoon, and Taron Egerton. Wait a minute though, Alice in Wonderland? That's a Disney property, isn't it? Well, before it was a well-known and beloved animated film, Alice in Wonderland was an 1865 English novel by Lewis Carroll, so the House of Mouse can't touch Illumination on that one. But that's not the only tap dance around Disney property Sing 2 does. Later on in the movie, Johnny butts heads with a choreographer named Klaus Kickenglober, voiced by Adam Buxton. He calls him a riff-raff street dancer, which is super close to what Aladdin was called in the song One Jump Ahead in Disney's Aladdin, when the guards are trying to catch him in a boo. Back to Wonderland and the Moon Theater, enter Suki Lane, played by comedian Chelsea Peretti. Peretti is probably best known for her sassy and deceivingly apathetic turn as Gina Linetti in the NYPD sitcom Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Suki is a scout brought in from the entertainment capital of the world. That's right, Red Shore City. After Moon's usual desperate measures yield no chance of booking an audition with her boss, Mr. Crystal, he returns to his office to lick his wounds. Mr. Jimmy Crystal, by the way, is voiced by Bobby Cannavale. And if you're getting a mob mentality vibe from him, you're not alone. By mob mentality, I'm not talking about an angry rabble of rowdy rebels. I'm talking more La Cosa Nostra, aka the Italian Mafia. Bobby knows a little something about that, having worked with the venerable Martin Scorsese on the gangster epic The Irishman. Scorsese himself also directed the acclaimed film Casino, which followed the Mafia and their influence in the development of Sin City. Anyway, back with Moon licking his wounds, when Nana gives Buster her own brand of pep talk, look closely at the framed pictures behind Buster's desk. Did you see a flyer that reads $100,000 on it? That's the flyer announcing the contest from the first movie, which changed Moon's life and the lives of his ensemble forever. Buster gets his second wind and rallies his troupe for a bus ride, including Ash. Returning as Ash is Scarlett Johansson. Moon finds her at Rick's Club, where Ash is killing it on stage with a rendition of Heads Will Roll by Yeah Yeah Yeahs. Feast your eyes on the front row. There are 5 groupies who just might look familiar. The polka dot bows, bright colors. It's the Cuties, the talented Red Panda Quintet, who auditioned in the original Sing. Did we call them foxes in our first video? Oops. Good looking out in the comments. It seems the local circuit is showing Ash no respect. Check out the scene where Rick cuts her an insulting check. Johansson didn't have to dig too deep to find emotional fuel for this sequence. Did you know that around the same time Sing 2 came out, Johansson was in a legal dispute with none other than the Walt Disney Company? Her complaint was the exact same thing Ash is dealing with, only she was being underpaid for her performance in the MCU movie Black Widow, where she plays the title character, aka Natasha Romanoff. Speaking of Marvel, it seems Scarlett rubbed off a little on one of her co-stars. Well, the animators anyway. Later in the movie, Rosita lands next to Nick Kroll's Gunther after taking a death-defying jump. Take a look at her pose. She lands just like ScarJo's Black Widow after taking down some security guards in Iron Man 2. Yeah, if I were Disney, I'd give her what she wants. It's gonna take some super heroic feats for Moon and the gang to crash the auditions. After all, this is Red Shore City, baby. Take a look at that place. Yeah, it doesn't take a genius to see that Red Shore is a fictional Las Vegas. Even the welcome signs look alike. Did you know that before preparing for Sing 2, director Garth Jennings hadn't stepped foot in Las Vegas? In an interview with Gold Derby, Garth talked about his first experience going to see a Cirque du Soleil in Vegas. His producer planned to meet him in the lobby of their hotel a half hour before the show. He explained, "I was like, well, if it's in the same hotel, we don't have to meet at 6:30. It doesn't take half an hour to walk to see." And she says, "No, it does. That's how big the hotel is." I'm thinking if you walked that long in my town, you'd be in the next town. Jennings also reprises his role as Miss Crawley, Buster's one-eyed assistant who is tasked with a very special mission in the film. More on that in a bit. But there are other character cameos who you might just remember from the first movie. Remember that chicken that was dressed to the nines from the Lake Calmar restaurant? He popped up later in the crowd watching Moon's singing competition outside through a store window. Well, he gets a funny moment where he literally slides front and center in the audition waiting room scene. How about the polar bear in the red Hawaiian shirt? He was at Harry's bar and later at the club where Mike the Mouse is making his escape from the Bear Mafia. Well, it looks like he's made the jump to Red Shore City as well. He's tricky to spot, but there's his back. He's now working as a casino bartender. Speaking of Mike the Mouse, he's noticeably missing from the ensemble this time around, and there seems to be absolutely no indication, on screen or off, as to why. What was Jennings thinking? That we wouldn't miss one of the brashest characters in the series with a boatload of moxie and pipes of olive oil gold? So what happened? Fans have come up with their own theories, from the benign to the downright not in line with a PG-rated movie. Many believe that the Bear Mafia finally got their hands on him and we should just, forget about it. But according to a Reddit user who attended a Q&A with Garth Jennings, the reason wasn't anything so sensational. According to username Riffraff, Jennings remarked that if he gets to do another Sing sequel, he might just bring Mike back. Jennings said he loved Seth MacFarlane's voice, but that this time around he simply had enough of the character. Perhaps it's all for the best. A casino town might have just proven too disastrous for our little gambling man. Mike might not have been invited back for the on-screen adventures, but as always, Jennings has a little help from his friends. You might remember that in the first movie, Jennings enlisted the help of some pretty heavy-hitting auteurs as additional voices for the movie. Well, Wes Anderson and Edgar Wright have returned again. This time, the roster also includes Spike Jonze of Her, Being John Malkovich, and Where the Wild Things Are fame. Actor-director Fisher Stevens also lends his voice. You might remember from his on-screen work in Short Circuit and Hackers. Actor Jason Schwartzman also has an additional voice credit. He's a beloved regular performer in Wes Anderson films. And finally, of note to horror fans of a certain age, you might notice John Kassir is credited with an additional voice as well. Don't recognize him? His voice haunted the dreams of many 90s kiddies who snuck a late-night peek at HBO's horror anthology Tales from the Crypt. Kassir voiced the ghoulishly terrifying host with the worst jokes, the Crypt Keeper. But one voice in particular is the most valuable asset to Buster Moon, and that's the voice of Clay Calloway, performed by living rock and roll legend Paul Hewson. Wait, you don't know him? Are you sure? He's the frontman for the internationally renowned band U2. That's right, Paul Hewson is the birth name of Irish rocker and philanthropist Bono. Did you ever wonder how he got the name Bono? It was given to him by another Irish artist known as Googie. Did you know that Bono means good in Latin? At first, Paul wasn't a fan of the name, but after learning its meaning, and since Googie thought he had a bono voce, that's good voice by the way, the name stuck. He's been Bono since he was a teenager. As for the name Clay Calloway, that also has some significance. He's a tribute to the real-life American singer, songwriter, and bandleader Cab Calloway. Clay just so happens to be one of Mr. Crystal's favorite artists, and when Moon promises Crystal he can get Calloway, a deal is struck, and Moon gets a show in Red Shore City. Just one small problem, Moon doesn't know Calloway. Not only that, Clay's become a recluse since the death of his wife. So Miss Crawley must hunt him down and convince him to feature in their show, or bad things could happen to Buster. But that might have always been the plan. After Buster fires Crystal's daughter, Portia, voiced by singer-songwriter Halsey, Crystal takes the show away from Moon. Of course, Moon doesn't give up without a fight. He puts on the show anyway with the help of his friends. Check out how Rosita unleashes her children on the buffet floor to thwart the security guards. Give a listen when they run out of the elevator. Do you hear that gleeful scream they give? It's the same scream used at the stroke of 6 a.m. in the jump scare game sensation Five Nights at Freddy's. Fights don't just happen behind the scene, they actually take place on stage as well. In the middle of Out of This World, Johnny finds himself in an actual battle with choreographer Klaus Kickenklover to the tune A Sky Full of Stars by Coldplay. The situation calls for a lot of fiery improvisation on Johnny's part, kinda like another Johnny who found himself in a heated situation back in 1983. I'm talking about John Travolta, who takes Broadway by storm in the 1983 dance film Staying Alive. Did you know Staying Alive is a sequel to the film that shot John Travolta into the stratosphere as a movie star? It's the follow-up to the disco hit Saturday Night Fever, where John took to the dance floor for the first time as Tony Manero. And if that wasn't wild enough, try and guess who directed Staying Alive. You're about to see him in a second. And boom! There he is, Rocky himself, Sylvester Stallone. Oh, the 80s. Anyway, Moon's show Out of This World proves a resounding hit. Crystal reveals himself as the villain he truly is, and Moon's ensemble gets to stay in Red Shore City and perform their show at the Majestic. You see the way Moon prepares to watch the show in the last shot of the film? He's got that same awestruck look he had so many years ago on his father's lap, back when he had the epiphany in the beginning of Sing. There's no business like show business. I hope you liked this video and found some cool things you hadn't seen before in Illumination Sing 2. Make sure you subscribe to Movie Logic for your daily dose of movie trivia, secrets, and Easter eggs.